Hi guys, hope you're all keeping well. Sorry that this video is a little bit late. I've been quite busy the past week, but I'm going to talk about how South Africa won the World Cup, how they came from 2015 to 2019, and I've got my good friend Reenan Stenekamp, who is a proud South African and avid Springbok fan, and we're just going to talk about South Africa's progress from the 2015 World Cup to becoming world champions in 2019. Reenan, how you doing, man?
I'm all good, thanks, Carl. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Pleasure being here.
Yeah, no problem. Good to have you on, mate. Yeah, so we're just going to talk about how South Africa came to be world champions in 2019. But we'll start back in 2015, which goes back a little bit to where you thought you guys were after the 2015 World Cup, where you finished third place. But I just want to get your thoughts on where you thought South African rugby was in general at that time.
Carl, we weren't in a good place, we had the coach at the time was Heineke Meyer,
Hmm.
who was very coincidentally today, the 12th of November, was removed from his position at Stade Francais
Hmm.
due to a lack of, he didn't perform. They've lost.
Yeah,
They've,
they're not doing
they've
too. They're
lost.
not. Pardon me. They're not doing too well. Well, they haven't done well for the past couple of
No,
seasons. Last, what from what I've seen of it, anyway.
no, they're not, and they're still lost in the top 14 now. But be that as it may, he was the coach. He's a very conservative coach, but not that there's anything wrong with being conservative, but he takes it way too far. The moment things go wrong, he's the kind of guy that closes all the doors, pulls in his old and trusted players, pulls them from flipping uh, 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 um, from retirement to come back. He did that with Victor Matfield for that World Cup. And then this happened. So, yes, we came third in that World Cup, which is not to be scoffed at, by no stretch of the imagination. But that team shouldn't have came third. We should have maybe losing finalists.
Yeah,
Now, which one do you want?
I thought you were somewhat
Let's
lucky in
go.
that in that World Cup to come through the quarter final you did against Wales, because it was really
Mm,
that error by Alex Cuthbert and the Welsh wing that allowed the space for Forey Dupria to exploit and get the win and try that game. And Wales were basically out
mm.
on their feet in that match as well with all their injuries. So I thought South Africa were a bit lucky that game, but also you were like you came close against the All Blacks, but I think I'll be honest and say I think a lot of that was the first half in discipline from New Zealand, like kept the game as close as it was, because I think New Zealand were overall the better team. They just kept letting themselves down in that first half of that match, and that's just my opinion on it. I don't know if you have a different one, but yeah, after 2015 when you came for third, obviously Heineken may have left. You got in Alistair Coetzee, and I'm sure you've got great memories of those 2 years with him as coach.
Uh, just Just very quickly, Carl, that semi-final against the All Blacks. My father was there. Even my mother went to that World Cup. They went to the final as well. And what we normal people didn't see on TV is the last 15 minutes of that game. The box heads dropped. Our heads were down. Our body language was negative. So the All Blacks, even though the score wasn't, they didn't run away with it, but they had that game. He said he could see that only one team will win this game, and that team is not South Africa. But anyway, be that as it may, yes. Then Alistair Coetzee came in, who I at the time thought wasn't a very bad thing to do. He did pretty well with the Stormers. Didn't win titles on Super Rugby level, but he won the Currie Cup, I think, twice with him, with Western Province, which is just different guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing. And that's not bad. He had a good squad. He had a good rapport with the players. Um, Not the bulk, but a healthy chunk of the box squad at that stage were Stormers players. So it's not like they were going to be thrown into the deep end and not know what this coach is about and all of that. I was very positive. I was actually happy that this guy was the coach. But it didn't transpire. If you look at the results, 2016 Ireland toured South Africa. We lost the first game at Newlands and then won the next two, fair enough, beat the pre-2008 not really pre-2018 Ireland, but still a strong Ireland team. We beat them. And then lost to Argentina again, this time in Argentina. And the results didn't go our way. Really, really. The Boks were poor. We toured Europe at the end of that year, and we didn't win a single game.
Yeah.
Now, if a team like the Boks, being very humble in saying a team like the Boks, but they're the Boks. They're not supposed to not win a single game in a November.
Yeah, I mean, even losing to Italy, I remember that game.
First time ever. That was hell. That was hell. I'm telling you.
I remember I didn't see all of it. I watched a bit of the end of that game because I thought because I was just. There was other rugby on at the time. I thought, South Africa would probably win that pretty easily. But then I saw the score the last 20 minutes, and I'm like, whoa, I've got to tune into this. And I just saw Italy see it out and win that. But I mean, my observations of South African rugby that year was off the back of the Super Rugby. I remember the Lions did really well. They got to the final. But I think that was more down to collective effort than any really great individual standing out in that particular Lions team, even though I know a lot, there's quite a lot of that Lions team that eventually did get picked in the Boks within that 2 years. But also just the rugby, it was like they were trying to play two different games in a way. Like there was one time they were trying to play wide, and the other time they were trying, and the execution as well for a South African team. I mean, I'll be honest to say I've got some skepticisms with how South Africa generally play, because I know their style is generally big pack of forwards, really strong defence, strong kick chase. And I prefer sort of the fast open rugby, but South Africa's execution, even when they do go wide, they expect is normally very crisp, and just how bad their execution was in those 2 years under Coetzee, I was really surprised at. It was just basic stuff, really. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you saw the same. It was just how they were playing was just really what is going on here?
I definitely saw it exactly the same as you did, Kyle. It's down to coaching. If you look at the coaching of that Lions team, which is still held in extremely high regard in this country. People speak, when they speak about that team and those coaches, they speak with awe, because they were a very strong team. And they had a freedom with them, in that team. Those backs, they knew they can run when it's on. They can run. The coach will back them. And they did. And they scored tries with it. Yet Coetzee was, in my view, and in many other people's view, he was way too conservative. We'll get to that 57-0 loss against the All Blacks overseas.
Well, we can.
But I have some inside info on that game. I've heard this from the horse's mouth, whose identity I'll keep to myself. But halftime, we were down, I think, 31-0, and Alistair Coetzee walked into the box, into the dressing room. And his instruction to the team, I kid you not, was to keep the score down, not to let the ball go past a second phase. To illustrate, I get the ball, I pass it to you. You will either kick it away or go to ground. It's your choice. So, how can you play like that? If you're 31-0 down, you'd rather lose the game 63-30 and go out with some pride and say, listen, we scored 4 tries, we gave it some aim, we got something out of it. But 57-0, but all right, we've got other games to cover before we get there. But that was Alistair Coetzee. And that's something that nobody will know until now, but so be it, it's long ago now. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think you're saying a lot there, mate. It's just, I mean, that's just baffling. I mean, at least because I remember that 2017 we played England, got drubbed 61-21, but at least when we had the ball, we tried a bit and scored 3 tries. But to just go down, when you're 31-0 down, just say that should be, to me, the point where you take the shackles off and say okay, guys, you go out, you play with pride in the second half, you give everything for that Boks jersey, and you try your best to get yourself as far back into the game as you can. And if you lose and you're unsuccessful, that's just the way it goes. But Yeah, that's just like that's baffling to me. But yeah, with other games like after that, I think yeah, it was when he in the French Test series he started because he knew he was I think failing in 2016 with his plan, and then the whole other baffling thing was that he picked a captain in Adrian Strauss in 2016, who then retired at the end of that year, and then
Yes.
then obviously after that there was sort of a bit of a mixed. I think it was Warren Whiteley and Eden Etzebeth the captains about that point. So I think when you're having those kind of like you don't have a consistent leader, you're like a bit, you can get a bit muddled. I think.
Yes, Etzebeth was captain due to injury to, I think, Whiteley. Look, Whiteley is a good captain. He was captain of the Lions. He took them to great heights. They didn't win they never won the Super Rugby competition under his leadership, but they did extremely well. They were in the final every damn year. They even hosted finals. So, that is success. You can look at the pitch every way you want. That is success. And to make him Bob captain's perfect. Perfect. But then Italy came in and Etzebeth was captain, and he got caught out because he was too young. He wasn't captain material then, especially at test match level.
Mm-hmm.
Even more so in trying conditions, trying circumstances rather. But it's what it was. It's what it was. I think if you go now and you go to Evan Etzebeth and say, listen, Scotland play in South Africa next year in July for 2 test matches. We're going to make you captain. We're going to arrest Siaklis. For whatever reason, we're talking fiction here. He'll do well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll lead them well. But then in 2020, not 2017.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Etzebeth, I think he's 28 now, so he'd be like I think at the peak age to be a captain. But that's not trying to take anything from how well Sayo Khaleesi's done since he got the role, which we'll get onto in a wee bit. But yeah, I mean after obviously the 3 Test series win against I'll be honest and say quite a poor and jaded France side going into that series. Because obviously with the French top 14, it's ridiculous how many games they play and all, etc., etc. But then you go into the Rugby Championship, and then, as you touched on, the 57-0 drubbing against New Zealand, which, I mean, I think we'll both agree here. Everyone, you might lose to New Zealand, but at least you play with pride, especially with the history of rivalry between the Springboks and the All Blacks. You'd at least be going over to New Zealand and expecting to give them, at the very least, a rough ride, even if you don't always win. But yeah, 57-0. What do you, apart from what you've said already, what do you say about that?
No, there's nothing to say about that, Carl. That's at low point. We lost to England 53-3. 53 points to 3 under Cornell Krieger's captaincy. I think it was 2003.
2002. I remember that game actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that was for me. That was the biggest Bok low point ever. And then this happened. After that day against England, I told myself, listen, it can't get worse than this. So suck it up, Buttercup. It's going to get better, and we're not going to go this low again. And we went lower. So and again, listen. Nothing against that England team. Nothing against this New Zealand team. They're awesome teams. Those teams that played were also the New Zealand were the world champions there, and rightly so. So now, if you play them in New Zealand, you don't expect to win, but you don't expect to lose 57-0.
I know.
That's off. That's off. But Kyle, look at the 2 games thereafter. Then we came back to South Africa, played Australia in Bloemfontein, which is one of the toughest places for a visiting team to come and play. You've seen that now in the Pro 14, where the Cheetahs, we play well at home. Even last year, when we had an average side, we won several games at home against teams that we shouldn't really have beaten on the day, but still we did. So the Boks come here, and lo and behold, they don't win. And the week thereafter, they play the All Blacks in Cape Town in a very improved game. I remember that game very well. I was actually happy with what I saw, even though, you guessed it, we lost. So, there things went wrong. Well, they went wrong 57-0, I mean, already, but really, that was a slide.
Mm-hmm.
And to get out of that slide is difficult. Very, very, very difficult. And I don't want to run too far ahead, but then we went double. 38-3. 38-3. We were never in that game. You know, just before this World Cup, they had a repeat of that game on TV for some reason. I don't know why they decided to have it on, but they did. So I watched it. And I wanted to switch it off at halftime, but I didn't. Something told me to sit through it. And we were bad on the day, but there were positives. Individual performances were okay. Defense was bad. Lack of a game plan was bad. But still, we weren't totally poor. I would give us, 30% for the game, a 30% mark. Where 38-3 tells you don't get 10%. But somehow we did things right. And then we went to Paris, we won. Italy, we won well.
Got your revenge there.
Yes, we did.
Pay back some bitch.
Yeah.
And
then we lost the game, lost once.
Yeah.
And then Coetzee got the sack. Finally, he got the sack. So now we can get to the good bit. So now Erasmus is appointed as both director of rugby and coach. Now, his appointment was for director of rugby. This is going to sound really funny, but then he appointed himself as coach. The director of rugby appoints the coach. And he appointed himself, and his reasoning at the time I didn't understand, but I understand it now. He said he needs to build structures, he needs to put in a whole new system with Africa rugby. We need to win, and it's going to start from the top, and it's going to work right down to the bottom, and he needs to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time I thought, yes, that's a bit arrogant, Can't you just do it and let somebody coach the team? I mean, those are two big roles to fill. But all right, the World Cup's here, we'll get to that. So he succeeded. Where I slightly underestimated him is I forgot in 2005 he coached the Cheetahs. Now by then we haven't won the Currie Cup for 29 years. Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years. We haven't won it for 29. That's long. We came in first season as coach. We won the Currie Cup against the Bulls at Loftus Versfeld. In their whole history, they've lost 3 Currie Cup finals at Loftus. Mm-hmm. In their whole history.
Wow.
We've got one of those, which is 2005. So that guy is capable of immediate success, instant gratification, which makes you immediately think, look, that's short term, that's not, that's not bigger picture. But, well, he had 18 months with the Boks, and I think the bigger picture is there, He's now resigned as coach. He's now full-time in the director of rugby situation. Word is our defence coach, Jacques Nobber, is going to be the new coach. Whether that happens, we'll see. Mm-hmm. But the whole structure is going to stay the same. You've got your assistant coaches. Well, most of them are staying anyway. The way I've got it.
No chance of Scotland getting Matt Proudfoot back as our forwards coach going forward. No.
No, I don't think so. He's.
I'm joking, mate. It's fine. I know he's not coming back.
No. I hear you. He's a good flipping good coach, but no, his contract with the Boks is actually now expiring. Mm-hmm. And when the Cheetahs advertised the coach's position, he applied for it and didn't get it. But I think he was. I think during that time he may well have negotiated a new deal with the Boks, and then just went through the motions of the interview and not got the job, which is fine because he's with the Boks. He said, "You know where I'm going." So anyway, Sarah Rassi took over, and a wave of optimism hit this country. He appointed first indigenous black Springbok captain, ever. Now, why is that relevant? That is relevant. I'll give you the short version, but the full story there is come from a system of apartheid where only white people could play representative rugby, and the blacks were undermined and put in camps. And it's horrible. It's a horrible
Yeah, yeah,
story.
yeah.
Although it's long gone now. Apartheid, we had our first democratic elections in 1994. So it's a long time ago. But still, there are traces of it left.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for many years, the blacks were still sidelined. And if you've got two players vying for one position, then the white player would just be picked. For no apparent reason, but it was like that. So how do you fix this? The government brought in a system that we call quotas. In a given year, when I started it, I think it was something like 20% of the team must be non-white.
Mm-hmm.
And they upped it every year by a percentage or two. They upped it every year. We're now at close to 50%. The match day 23 of the box must be 50% non-white. And they further refined it to say that 50% that's non-white, I think half of it must be indigenously African, as in black, not colored or Hispanic or whatever you want to call it. Must be black. Now, it sounds very nitpicky, but if you look at it from where it comes from, you need to give these guys a shot at it. Now, it's a spent thing now. It's not necessary anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a hell of a lot of black players in the system, and we've got good players. Look at a guy like Joseph Dweba of the Chilas, that hooker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's a monster killer. That guy is no so-called quota player. He's there on merit and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
We've got zillions of those players.
Yeah.
That are indigenously black. So the whole thing is solved. The whole history leading up to this has been dealt with. So what Erasmus did is he appointed a black captain to unite the rugby watching population behind this team, because the black population is far in excess in this country. I think the whites are something like 11% of the whole population. The blacks is 83.
Okay.
I think 83. You need that market. You need those people. Now, which better way to say, listen, here's our captain. He speaks the language. He understands the way black people see it, etc. He's a good player. He's a good captain, a very good captain, in fact.
Yeah.
Yes, he's made mistakes with the Stormers. He was Stormers captain now for 2 years. He's made horrible mistakes, but clearly he's learned from it.
Yeah.
We all do. I make mistakes every single day, but he's learned from it. And look where we're now. He's a World Cup winning captain. Mm-hmm. People say, he's not even the best player in his position, etc. Bull, man. Bull. He's a brilliant player. I haven't heard one international commentator who's neutral yet has ever said anything about that guy's, his play. He's a good player.
Yeah. I will say though, in one regard, I wasn't going to try and touch on the identity politics thing that much, but I think you've covered it really well there, so we don't have to go into that much great depth in it if you don't want to. I'm just going to say I think Francois Lowe is a bit of a better jackler than Khaleesi is as a 7 over the breakdown, but I think like Khaleesi, the way Rassie Erasmus had him as captain and used him was very smart throughout the whole World Cup and in the 2 years leading up to that, because because that's the thing, he is a really good player, and he was captain on merit. I don't think the skin colour should be overall relevant to that at all, but I think also the way, and this is just talking about the World Cup, the way Francois Lowe was more used, like the way he brought him on to sort of pick holes in the breakdown late on was very smart as well. I'd say, but I think, like I'm just saying as a jackler, I think Francois Lowe is still a better player, but Khaleesi was, does do his job really well around the field, and does make sure he makes the mark when it hurts at the breakdown as well. in a good way, obviously.
What also helped Kulisi is he had a strong leadership team around him. You've
Hmm.
got Andre Pollard who's good captain. Co-captain.
Hmm.
Because you've also got Dwayne Vermeulen,
Yeah,
who was also a good captain this season. You got two strong captain figures there. If I think quickly, Francois Lowe himself, wasn't he captain of Bath, also for a while,
yeah, he
if
was. Yeah,
memory
he was.
serves.
He was. I don't know. I don't think. No, I don't think he still is, but he was for a
No, he
few
was.
years.
He
Yeah,
was for a
yeah,
while. So, if you take Kulisi off on 65 minutes, you're still left with Vermeulen, you're still left with Pollard, and now you bring Lowe on anyway.
hmm,
So you've got your strong leadership there that can take the youngsters forward. So that was a big advantage that Kulisi had in his favour. Also, don't forget, he was injured for this whole rugby championship that we now had before the World Cup.
hmm,
He didn't play in a single game.
yeah, yeah.
And we still won it
Hmm.
without our captain. So, well, our full-time captain anyway. I mean, I think Dwayne Vermeulen did an excellent job there.
Hmm.
Faf de Klerk's also a strong leader. He makes big decisions on the field,
Hmm.
and the players back him. They back him. I've never seen this ever. So no, he's got strong players around him. But if you now go and look, so the England tour South Africa in June 2018. I mean, we went to the USA. We played Wales there in
Yeah.
I think Chicago, which was a total mess of a game.
Yeah,
But
I remember
Wales
that
won.
one. You had your more or less your second team. Wales had more or less their second team, and it just ended up the scoreline what it was. But I think the England tour was a bit more relevant because that was what really started like Arasi Erasmus's reign. Kicked it off the ground, was winning that Test series against actually at a time an England team that was down in form and confidence a wee bit. They'd gone three on the bounce, losses in the Six Nations, and then they lost the first two tests against you guys. But still, I think I remember seeing that Test series, and I thought this is a South African team that are definitely back now. They're looking a good team again. So I think what are your thoughts there?
Carl, you know what gave me hope there? That first test match at Ellis Park, we went down, I think we were down 21-0 after 20 minutes.
Hmm.
And we rallied back. That team showed guts and determination. And we came back in the game and we won it. We won a thriller.
Hmm.
And then the same thing happened in Bloemfontein. We went down, I think, 16-0 or something. I was at that game. I went to the Bloemfontein game. And we came back into it. But by the time we hit halftime, I think we were. I think it was. The scores were level, 1 point in it or something. Now look at it from England's point of view. You lead 21-0 at Ellis Park of all places, and you lose.
Yeah.
You lead 15-0 in Bloemfontein, and you lose. That's a strong Bok team that gets that right.
Hmm.
And then England beat us in the rain in Cape Town. Eddie Jones played a totally different game. I actually enjoyed that game, even though we lost. I enjoyed it from a technical point of view. To to see what Jones did, he had one player standing off the ruck all the time at both sides.
Hmm.
So for defense, there's no way through, and on attack, you've got options on both sides, and the box couldn't read it. They couldn't read it. They couldn't adapt, and in the rain, they couldn't get it right on the day. And England rightly won a good game. Then we played the Argentinians in Durban. Now, why do I say Durban? Because we lost to them in Durban 2 years before that. That was the first loss to them ever. Now, today, Argentina is a household name. They're a feared entity. Not quite at this World Cup, but more in the general sense. They're Argentinians. You don't want to play.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
difficult. But by then, they were only becoming difficult. Um, losing to them for us wasn't on. It's not acceptable. So, and then we lost to them in Durban, and then we played them now in Durban and beat them convincingly.
Hmm.
Flew over to Australia, lost. We were poor in Brisbane. Poor on that day. I remember it like yesterday. The Aussies weren't much better than us. but they got something like 2 serious opportunities in the game, which they both took.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you win test matches. That's the IHL team. That's how you win. Then we played the All Blacks in Wellington and famously won.
Yeah, I remember that game. That was a thriller. You conceded.
Those shots are still ringing around the world.
I remember you conceded 6 tries that game, and then you still had it in you to defend those last. Was it 15, 20 minutes where New Zealand were more or less camped on New Zealand, South Africa's line, and they just Springboks just tackle after tackle, just kept knocking them back and managed to hold out. I think Bowden Barrett having an off day with the boot helped you that day as well. But still, that last 15, 20 minutes was just an amazing effort. I remember that game, and that to me I think showed that the Springboks were back after 2 years in the doldrums. I said this in my I said this in my post, way Rassie Erasmus came in, you were, I think, more or less in the doldrums for your standards, and then he came in, and that was the game that really just said to me, this is a South African team that are definitely on the world stage again, and we need to take seriously again, and that's the way it went. I think it just went kind of from strength to strength from there, pardon me. But yeah, and then it goes on to the end of the year. You have a mixed bag of a European tour. Lose to England, which was a dubious loss. I think you should have had that. I think you should have had that penalty with Owen Farrell. And then you snatch it against France with the last touch of the game, pretty much. And then you beat us 26-20, which was, to be honest, quite a tight game. And I think
a strong Scotland team too.
Yeah. I mean, I thought actually, for the most part, we played quite well in that game. It was just little details that South Africa got a bit better in the second half than us that saw them over the line. And then went to Wales, and it was a Wales team that were full of confidence at the time and just fell short in that game. So, but yeah, and I think that was still signs that there was a bit of a way to go for South Africa, but also that I could see there was test of the waters of depth, because I remember Faf de Klerk didn't really play much of that tour, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he did.
And then
Carl, if you look at it, you got to keep in mind something that the Northern Hemisphere, with all respect, don't always remember, so to speak. The November tour is right at the end of our year. The guys are tired, they're knackered. Mm-hmm. It's a professional game, there's no excuse. But they're tired. It's like the June International. Same thing. The guys are tired. There's nothing really on the table unless it's a British Lions series. Then yes, British Lions. Then
but I could sorry, Reenan. I could say the flip with that with the Northern Hemisphere and the summer tours, because the Northern Hemisphere are at the end of their season when they come to South Africa, New Zealand, Australia in the summer. So it's kind of like a flip of that when you go to November. We're in the middle of our season and you guys are at the end of yours. So it's, I don't know. It's it's just kind of.
So yes, losing to England with a Farrell thing, that sucked. That sucked. I had a mate at the France game in Paris that we won 29-26, and I spoke to him about that game 2 days ago, incidentally, because we were looking back and reminiscing, etc. He said there you could see that these guys refuse to give up. They've got this animal inside them. They will not stop. Losing to Wales any time is no shame, even more so in the year, And then we came to the World Cup year, 2019.
And it started well with the Rugby Championship, getting that win under your belt, even though, what was it? I'm just trying to remember the New Zealand game, which was 16-all.
Yes.
Which you were on top of it. I thought very much on top of in that first half, and then New Zealand came back in the second, and then South Africa scored a late try and got a draw. Was that? I mean, I'm just trying to remember that's how it went. Yeah.
It's how it went, but we experienced it as a win. I mean, if you're 16-9 down with no time left, and you go snatch that draw, that's a win. Psychologically. And for them, it's a loss. I mean, Kieran Reid said afterwards, their captain, he said, for them it feels like a loss. I thought he was just playing, the audience, but maybe not. Maybe he did feel like he lost. Then we went to Salta in Argentina and really hammered. We really did a statement win there, 46-13, and then we lifted the trophy. And then all the doomsayers, myself included, said, history has taught us that in a World Cup, if you win the Rugby Championship or the Tri-Nations or whatever you want to call it, you don't win the World Cup. So
I don't know about that, because both years New Zealand have won it the past two. They didn't win the Rugby Championship. 2011 they finished second. I think both years they finished second to Australia, and they still won the World Cup. So I wouldn't fully go with that logic, but I get from South Africa's point of view how it gave them the confidence to believe they could go into the World Cup and actually win it, as they did. So I can understand where you're coming from there.
Yes, and then we played them a week later in a warm-up game, a game we played Argentina in Pretoria. And Argentina really tested us that game. I enjoyed it. I enjoy such an arm wrestle. It's not always the most watchable game, but I enjoy it because it's tough, it's hard, and it's trench war. And that's what that game was. And we came through. We picked up very much a B team, second string players. Lots of the Northern Hemisphere players had to go back to their clubs then. So they weren't available for that game. It was outside the window.
Okay.
And we won, we won. Well, 24-18, we should have won further, but we won. So I was very happy. And then they went in a long training camp where they did no press conferences, and we had long weeks where there was nothing. Luckily, we had the Currie Cup going, so that was, from a spectator point of view, we still had enough rugby here.
Mm-hmm.
Also, by then, Siya Kolisi started playing again. We played Western Province last two Currie Cup games to regain match fitness. So from a Bok point of view, I watched those games to see where he's going. And he was in good shape. I wasn't worried about him. After what I saw, I knew the captain's on it. He's on it. He's going to do it. Then the Cheetahs won the Currie Cup, allow me that. And then
So sorry to interrupt you. That's an interesting omen actually, because in 2007 the Cheetahs won the Currie Cup as well, and you won the World Cup, and then 2019 same thing. So
yes, we did. And then we flew over and played Japan, the team that we lost to in the last World Cup, and did a statement win against them. In a friendly just before the tournament started. The score was 41-7.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, Japan didn't really play rugby that game. I think they kept their powder dry for Ireland and, sorry to say, but Scotland as well.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. I definitely remember watching that game, and I think in Japan they weren't great. I was thinking, are they good host the World Cup? And then obviously showed they were saving it for the groups and getting through that.
No, I agree fully. And then we lost to New Zealand. And close to everybody were very flat after that result. Even though they were positive. Carl, if you look back to that game, we lost that game with a 17-minute stretch where they scored 2 tries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Through brilliance of their own. But we were in it, if not even dominating, the rest of the time. Yet we lost. So that was a positive to take, to say, listen, we weren't overpowered here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they had it from the kickoff and we were never in the game, because that would have been a different thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, because I remember that game, South Africa dominated possession and territory, and I thought, I wouldn't say unlucky, but we were 3-0 up after 20 minutes or so, and then it goes back to 3-all. You think, with how much dominance South Africa had in that first 20 minutes, you've got to do more than just take 3 points out of that, and that's how it went, really. But then I was gonna say just as you say, yeah. I was gonna say just as you say, New Zealand.
9 points up. If you can't score, if you see we're not going to score twice, then you do drop goals. But you go 9 points up if the gods are in your favour, then you go 12-0 up. But still, You need to get points, any point, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that let them in. All right, so be it. Then we played Namibia. All respect, no, win easily.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with Canada. All respect, win easily. And then we have the Japanese in the quarterfinal.
I will say though, the Italy game, I thought that was even though I was just gonna say I thought South Africa, even though they were winning that comfortably, what really absolutely swung it 100% in their favour for a convincing win was that red card for the tip tackle and Vermeulen. But I mean, I thought even watching that game, I'm not wholly convinced that South Africa are going to be contenders for the tournament here, even though, like I said, they won convincingly. And then, as I said, we get to the quarterfinals. Wear the Japanese down just through sheer power in the second half of that match. Really,
something about that Italy game. In 1995, we played Canada in our last pool game before.
Yeah.
Samoa in the quarters, and a huge fight broke out. We had 2 red cards and players expelled because of that. That was the rule before that time. Get a red card, you're out. Yeah. And it happened that way. And it was a big downer, etc. And we played poorly. We had them. We were far ahead when the fight happened, etc. But we didn't play well, even though we were far enough ahead. We played poorly. That was our bad guy. Italy was our bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I got much the same idea from it, even though this time there wasn't a fight and red cards and players at home, etc. It was the same thing, Carl. Mm-hmm. It was Canada, it was Italy, and it was the same thing. So I saw a bit of a mirror here. And then, yes, like you said, then against Japan, our forwards took it over. That second half, we didn't allow them to breathe.
Yeah.
And that's brutal. It sends out a message. Sorry for Japan because they're the darlings of rugby right now, and rightly so. I mean, they got brilliant results. They hosted a fantastic World Cup, etc. So let them be the darlings. But when it comes down to knockout rugby, they can be the darlings from the stands. We have to win.
Yeah, exactly. I remember actually. So I was just gonna say, I remember that game. I was thinking like that South Africa would possibly overpower the Japanese a bit, just because I remember in the game when they played us in the group stages, the one bit it was our out wide defence, which is our bigger problem that game, but one bit we did manage to get on top of them for most of that game was at the breakdown, and we were physically smashing them backwards for large parts in that game. And I was just thinking with South Africa's big forwards, I think I said it in my preview in that game with South Africa's big forwards, that how would Japan cope with that intensity for 80 minutes? Just like, because South Africa's forwards, as you know, they're absolute beasts. They're massive. Every tackle they make, they're aiming just to smash you backwards all the time. And the physicalities, I was just thinking, how could Japan live up to that for a full 80 minutes? And you could tell just by the second half, they were out on their feet, and South Africa just absolutely wore them down. And, Pollard kicked the goals, and then they got the 2 tries, of course, which sealed the win for them. That's probably how you saw it as well, I'd say.
Exactly the same. That second half was a power show. I actually felt sorry for the Japanese, because they beat Ireland, they beat Scotland, and then we do this to them. That wasn't the reflection of the Japan that I saw during the pool stage.
No, but yeah, I mean, even in that,
it's not a fair game.
Yeah, I was going to say, even in that game, I didn't think 3 points justified their performance, because that first half was really tight in that match, and they could have gone either way. Both sides had their chances that they squandered. So, I mean, I think 3 points, was a bit unfair, but overall South Africa did what they had to do. So
no, we had a job and we did it, and we did it well. And then we got the Welsh in the semi-final.
80-minute bore fest.
Before the game, the Wales that we played and the Wales that played in the warm-ups before the World Cup, I think they played Ireland twice and England once or something. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, it was Ireland, both of them twice. They played both of them twice.
Yes. Yes, you're right. The Wales that we met in the semi-final didn't have that edge anymore. They didn't have that hard edge to them that they won the Grand Slam with, and that they did very well in those August games. Um, I don't know where they lost it. I don't know how they lost, but they did.
I think
And
sorry, I was just gonna say just briefly with regards to Wales. I think it was because Wales' defence by their standards was surprisingly substandard for most of the World Cup, and I think a lot of that, I think it was touched on just how the new directives are for referees to be stricter with higher tackles and that, and because Wales be tackling like they do, like they realise, oh, we're not going to get away with as many high shots and that, so we're going to have to make sure we go lower, and I think that cost them a bit because they're after like how many years with Sean Edwards as their defence coach, they're going to be so used to tackling a certain way, and then they've got to change that because they're going to be stricter with this now. So, but yeah, that's just with Wales. But from that game's point of view, I just remember like it was just from a neutral standpoint, it was just boring. I'll be honest with you. But sorry,
extremely boring, and we were so poor. It didn't look like other team wanted to win the game. We were poor, Wales were poor, they kicked everything away. There was nothing happening.
boot it up, smash them
And,
back. Yeah,
yeah, and okay, we won the game. Could just as well have gone the other way. We could just as well been on the receiving end and be playing for the bronze. But luckily we didn't. We got through that one. You need a shot of luck to win a World Cup. I watched an interview with Bob Dwyer before the World Cup, the Aussie coach,
yeah,
and there was another one. If I think quickly now, Graham Henry. So Graham Henry, and both of them said you can prepare all you like, and you can be ready for any eventuality. You need a shot of luck to go your way, to take it. And I think that Wales game, we weren't lucky to win it, but we had one or two bounces in the game that could just as well have landed up in Wales, in Welsh hands, and could have been different. So I think there you can say, listen, that was a win from behind that let the sails go and the boat go. I think so.
yeah. I'd say somewhere in the middle of that because I thought at the right time South Africa were a bit smarter, and in those last 10 minutes or so, you could just tell South Africa's physicality was just starting to wear the Welsh down a little bit, and I think it was just that physical edge up front that tipped the balance a bit. You could just tell because, I mean, the biggest turning point for me in the whole game was when Francois Lowe jackled Alan Wynne-Jones and got the turnover from that penalty, which in the end led to the penalty from the side entry at the Mall. And it was really just because Alan Wynne-Jones didn't have the support going into contact, and you could tell the Welsh forwards were tiring a bit and they were starting to give away more penalties. So I think that was just what tipped the balance a bit, and South Africa being a little bit smarter in that time as well. But I mean, you could call it lucky to an extent, which it was, because Wales did have their chances as well, and if Wales had been smarter on a couple of occasions or executed a few passes a bit better, they might have scored a couple of tries earlier on. But it is what happened, and South Africa got themselves over the line. And then going into the final, I think most, including myself, were fancying England just to scrape it there. Even though I did think South Africa would be tougher for England than New Zealand, mainly just because I think mainly just with South Africa's physicality up front and just how you impose yourselves and just how you have no qualms about slowing the game down if you need to, and that can frustrate teams. I think it depends on the opposition, but I think that can frustrate teams sometimes more than it can work in their favour. So yeah, but what did you think of the final? Sure, you had a good day with it.
No, we had a fantastic day, but going into the final, the overwhelming thought was that England were going to struggle against the All Blacks, and to again go to that level of intensity, which is necessary because it's a World Cup final. I mean, if you play at 90%, 95%, that's not good enough. You're not going to win the game. You need 110%. And against New Zealand, they were at 110%. So they needed to go there again. I thought that even though they would struggle to go there, the Eddie Jones factor would negate that. I rate him and I rate him highly. I think he's the best. Well, he's now been dethroned, so he's not the best.
Well, he was your.
And I thought he was.
Yeah, I was just gonna say because he was South Africa's assistant in 2007 when you won it then.
Yes,
so
yes.
I can understand
and
that.
Also, he took Australia to the final in 2003.
Yeah.
And he beat the box with Japan in 2015. So he knows how a World Cup works.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there,
Absolutely.
and he's gone far. He's gone far in World Cups. So I was thinking, yes, England are not going to be where they, at intensity, they're not going to be where they need to be. But Eddie Jones will have a plan for that. He will, with shrewd substitutions and with maybe shifting the ball around a bit and maybe even changing your plan in the middle of the game, because he teaches at least 3 game plans into anything. And I thought that's where he was going to go. And to be honest, I thought that England would win the game. I was quietly confident that our forwards would do it for us. But I was also quietly confident, for lack of a better term, that Eddie Jones had an answer for that. And he didn't. I don't think many people expected what we saw. England were bullied, their forwards. They were bullied, they were smashed.
Mm-hmm.
They were taken to a level of ghetto fighting that they're not used to be at and that they don't want to be at.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wants to be there, and England didn't want to be there. And we took them there and we kept them there.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to mistakes, that leads to frustration, and it leads to poor decision making. And that's penalties, and then you got Andre Pollard, who missed, I think, only 2 kicks at goal the whole night. Could even be one.
It was just one you missed, I remember.
It was just one. If you miss only one kick, and you kick them, and we play the percentage game so well over there, especially with regards to possession and to territory on the field.
Mm-hmm.
If England get the ball, they're in the wrong place in the field. That's a frustration that leads to mistakes, and it did.
Mm-hmm.
It showed, and. Just after halftime, when we went 9 points up, we led 12-6 at halftime, and in the 46th minute, we went 15-6 up. That's where I got the idea that we've got this. England got their penalty back, took it back to 6. We took it back to 9, so the seesaw, but they were never going to catch us. We had them at arm's length, and it's like a boxer with longer reach. The other guy can try all his lights. He's not going to eat.
Yeah, I think.
And with all respect to England, that's what happened.
I think.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say. I think. Pardon me. I think I was just gonna say that. I think Kyle Sinclair going off early for England had a big factor as well, because the Beast had Dan Cole on toast for the rest of the time he was on the field, and then Kitchenoff and Koch came on, and they were more or less the same when it mattered as well when they came on.
Yes, Kitchenoff is such a strong scrummager, as is Koch, but Kitchenoff, that guy is a phenomenon. He really, I can't speak well enough of him. And yes, they came on and they just destroyed the English scrum furthermore. But that try by Cheslin Colby at the end. Look, when Mapimpi scored our first try, then it was game, set, and match. It was. But when Cheslin Colby had 4 Englishmen to beat, and only one could touch him.
Yeah,
that's magic stuff. That's magical stuff. Man.
I mean, I know there's some folk who give Owen, because folk love to give Owens Farrell stick on social media. That just seems to be the done thing. But I thought I think Colby step more has to play it, because that step inside and Farrell ran straight across him, then step outside again. That was just I was just watching that. I was just thinking that was absolutely There's sometimes you just have to say, nah, too good, mate, and that was just it. They had a counter attack, and he just absolutely exploited it and scored a brilliant try to win it for you. And then like I said, I think that was just building as well. What did you think of the Mapimpi try? Was it a forward pass going to him there that the TMO missed?
Oh, could just as well have gone the other way. I think it was a 50-50 one. When I saw the replay, I remember telling my wife that I really hope they don't give this a forward because we need this. She said no, she thinks it's backwards. I said I think it's, I don't know, could be slightly forward. But luckily it wasn't. So, you have, again, like I said just now, you need a little bit of luck to go your way. And there it was. If you look back at the 2007 World Cup final, that tackle that Daniel so put on that, can't remember who the English player was.
Cueto.
That's right. Just in touch.
Yeah.
Now, to this day, I'm not convinced that his foot was in touch. I think it was. But I'm not convinced. Okay? So then, England had a little bit of luck going against them. We had it going for us, and there was a difference in the game. Now, to say that the Mapimpi decision, whether the pass was forward or not, decided the game, because that decided the game in 2007. It didn't decide the game.
No.
But it went a hell of a long way to put us into an unassailable lead. But that Colby try, it only sunk into me during the week. Things like this take time to really get to you. Is that he did it in a World Cup final. It's one thing scoring that try in a top 14 game or a high-level Super Rugby game or in a Leinster-Munster game or in the 1872 game over Christmas. It's nice to score one there. That's big stage. But in a World Cup final, that's unheard of. Unheard of. That's all class.
Mm-hmm.
It is. And he's going to take this kind of form back to Toulouse now. And he's going to play good rugby. That guy scores every game. Mm-hmm. Every game he scores a goal.
It was interesting with Colby, actually. No one had really heard of him until last year. Well, on the world stage, I know he'd played in South Africa and he was at Toulouse, but Rassie Erasmus still kind of more or less picked him up out of when he was playing at Toulouse, and he was in good form then, and he just kind of came in, and I was like, I was just thinking, wow, who's this wee guy who can shift, and like reminds me a lot of a bit of a skinnier Shane Williams, let's say, but I mean, I think he's one of the ones that's definitely lit up the World Cup with his feet and his ability, and it just shows you that, once again, that rugby's not just a game for big men, and if you got a step and speed like that, then you're going to cause all defences, any shape or size, an awful lot of problems.
Definitely. Now, Carl, looking forward, where are the Boks going to go from here? I said earlier that Erasmus is now stepped down as coach.
Yeah, is that official now? He's not going to be doing it onto the lines, coach. Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, he did a press conference before the World Cup final already, where he said, win or lose, after this final, he's not coaching anymore. But he's still a director of rugby, so he's still the boss. Mm-hmm. The new coach will report to him. So it's how it is. So, but look, Rassie Erasmus is brilliant at putting in structures and setting up a whole winning environment. Mm-hmm. He did that in a big way with Munster.
Yeah.
Before he went to Munster, he was with the Stormers. The Stormers didn't win. I think they won the Currie Cup once under Alistair Coetzee, while Rassie Erasmus was director of coaching at Western Province. I think that was their only tangible success. But they played consistently good rugby in Super Rugby. They made the playoffs, I think, only one year they didn't. They made the playoffs every year except for one. That's in a tough competition. Super Rugby is not that tough anymore, but then it was still tough enough. To get that right, that takes some doing. So, from a structural setup kind of view, I see good things happening. We've lost a couple of players now to retirement. That was always going to be the case. What I myself don't see coming is all these signings from the Northern Hemisphere now, where you've got guys like R.G. Snyman and Damien Delano going to Munster. Even Etzebeth signed with Toulon before the World Cup already, although he's only going, I think, in a year. But still, he signed a 3-year deal from them. And there are more. There are more players. So our policy is, if you have a player in South Africa in a position, let's say your 12 centre. So you've got Darlenda at Munster, and you've got a player at the Lions in South Africa. And the guy in the Northern Hemisphere isn't considerably better than the guy here. You pick the guy here. I don't always buy into that, but it's how it is. Even with these guys now going, they will have to revisit that whole thing of selection of players overseas, and they will have to go where soccer is. Well, maybe not fully, but at least venture in that direction. Because you're gonna have your team diluted. If you've got all these players overseas, you're not picking them. Right, you can have youngsters coming through. That's natural. It happens. But still, I mean, guys like R.G. Snyman, that guy's good for 2 more World Cups. No, you're not going to pick him because he plays overseas. No, man, you don't do that. You pick him. You pick him.
Yeah, the whole. I was going to say the whole overseas thing is kind of like. I was going to say it's a bit of a different issue, but I think it going forward it is kind of connected a bit, because I think. I mean, I'm not too bothered about the whole thing with picking overseas, but I think you'd also want a bit of a kind of structure of it. I mean, I do hugely respect New Zealand for how they manage, and they have an insurance to make sure that anyone who plays for the All Blacks is playing their rugby in New Zealand. But I mean, I understand it's not always easy with the amount of money that's in England and France, especially right now, and across Europe. So with regards to South Africa, I know they've gone back to more or less keeping everyone open for selection, whether they're playing abroad or whether they're playing at home. But what are your thoughts on that going forward? Should they go to like the similar thing Australia have with the 60 cap policy, or should there be a change there? I mean, I know you're saying at the moment you should pick them, but I mean long term I'm talking about.
I think they'll sit down once the new coach is appointed, which should be Nino, the current defence coach. Let's assume it's him. I think they'll sit down and look at what have they got here, especially working towards the British Isles Lions in 2021, because that's the big one. Okay, we don't want to lose you don't want to lose in July next year. The June test seems like they're now July test. I don't quite get that, but okay. We've got Scotland coming here for 2 test matches, and I'm not sure who the other test match will be. But we need to win those games. We need to win in the Rugby Championship. We need to win in November. You can slip the odd game. I understand that. That's human and that's inevitable. You're not going to win every week, but you need to win by far the more than you lose. So those players, to take the July games as a case in point, they're not playing rugby. Let's say your Northern Hemisphere based players, they're in their off season. They can come play in these test matches. The trick will come when the Rugby Championship starts and you've got a guy like Foster Clerk who's supposed to go back to Sale, but he misses the first 4 games due to these commitments. Erasmus got it right this year because it was a World Cup year, and he spoke to the clubs and asked them nicely, listen, let the guy go. He's part of my World Cup squad. I need him. And it was a gentlemanly kind of thing, and they let him go. Obviously, that worked well. But next year is not a World Cup. So what are you going to do now? Now Sale's going to say, no, we're not going to let the club go. Forget about it. Munster is going to say, we just got these guys. Just get out. You're not giving them to. So they'll need to find something there.
Yeah.
And it's a tough balance.
Yeah, a lot of that depends on the window, though, with the international window. And again, I'm not sure like the ins and outs of when that actually is. But I mean, a bigger problem as well is like kind of player welfare in the way, especially with the Northern Hemisphere seasons being a lot different from the Southern Hemisphere seasons, and a lot of guys who are coming from the North, they're coming back for the summer, like the summer test and then the Rugby Championship. They're just coming in more or less tired. They've had little to no time to recover, and they're just going in at a high intensity level, and then they have to play more or less the season with their clubs, and then take time off in November again to play for South Africa or if it's Australia or whatever. But it's like I don't know. Like I'm a bit sort of in the middle on the whole thing.
The window, the Rugby Championship is not played in an international window. The July test, there is a window where the players need to be released, as is the case for November.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be released. If you have a player, they have to let him go to the international squad if selected. That is not the case with the Rugby Championship, because it's in October, September, August. That's when it's played. That's season. That's where the top 14 is running. Pro 14 is running. The Premiership in England, it's on the full go. So getting those players for those competitions, when you really want to test yourself against the All Blacks and the Aussies and the Argentinians, because they're going to be back with a bang, believe me. That's where you want your players. That's where you need Archie Snyman. That's where you need Faf de Klerk. You need him. Andre Pollard off to Montpellier now. You need him. Do you think Ultra at Montpellier is going to let him go? Mm-hmm. Forget about it. He's not going to let him go. So we need to find a new flyout.
Yeah.
That's a long and short of it. We now need to find a new flyout.
Yeah, I was just going to say you've got Elton Yanchez, so he could be a choice for.
Yes. Well, I guess theoretically we do. So yeah,
I know you're a big fan.
I foresee a bit of a hangover here as well, Winning is all good and well, but it papers over cracks. And every team has cracks. And when you win, you're blind for those. You don't see them. When you lose, then you're forced to face your shortcomings and you fix them. That's a positive. That's a positive to not succeed at a World Cup in this instance. Mm-hmm. Look at the All Blacks. They think, well, their coach was always going to go. He's going now. They let a couple of players go. They're going to rebuild. The Boks also have to rebuild, but they need to rebuild while everybody wants to beat them badly, because you always want to beat the Wolves.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
But I think
that's why the All Blacks have been such a hot property until now.
Yeah, I think I will say though, I think going into the Lions tour that your South African board, Rassie Erasmus, whoever's guiding that sort of stuff at the top of South African rugby, will make sure that all their best players are definitely free and available for the Lions tours. Absolutely, no doubt about that. Either.
And a good thing is that Lions tour isn't happening next year. Mm-hmm. Because if it happened next year, it would have been chaotic. I want to take you back to 95. We won the World Cup. 96, the All Blacks come here for their first full tour post-isolation. They played tour matches, something they don't have anymore. They played tour matches, 3 test matches. They beat the Boks for the first time in their history in a test match series in South Africa. Now, a year before we beat them in the World Cup final, we didn't feel like world champions anymore. The next year, the British Lions come, 97 Lions, they beat us. Mm-hmm. Now we're not world champions anymore. On paper we are, but we didn't feel like world champions.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. I can understand where you're coming from there.
Nick Mallett came in as coach and lifted us up, and we actually did pretty well. And, all right, the rest is history. Now, look at it now. Next year, we don't have a full All Black series. Yes, we've got a rugby championship, etc., but that's a different thing. We've got the opportunity to rebuild, have a sort of successful year, hopefully, but not winning trophies, etc. I don't know what the priorities will be next year. But I don't think winning trophies at all costs will be a priority.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be to be competitive, to fill the gaps like a decent Tawariga, etc. To find a guy, the next guy will step in, but who's the guy behind him? We need to fill those positions. And then, after the World Cup hangover is over and we all equals again, the year thereafter,
Mm-hmm.
the Lions, I can't wait.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm hoping there's at least a couple of Scots getting the test team that time, but that's a couple of years away, so we'll see then. I'm hoping we can use next summer as a springboard for ourselves. But anyway, I just want to bring you back to the World Cup a bit. From a South African point of view, who were the players you thought stood out for you guys in the tournament?
Okay, Colby did very well. I think Andre Pollard really put up his hand, especially in the final.
Mm-hmm.
Faf de Klerk was brilliant. The other scrum of Kobus Reinach, that game against Canada.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor, go find that game somewhere and watch it. He was a revelation. Now, he is that good. I've seen him often. The way he played that day, he was at his best. I'll tell you that. But he is that good. The Reinach that we saw that day, that's Kobus Reinach. That's how good he is. I think Dwayne Vermeulen had a brilliant tournament.
Yeah.
Ruka Bongi Munambi had a brilliant tournament. And Damien Dalenda improved light years. Light years. You know, he was one of the most unliked players before this tournament.
Yeah.
And now he's respected. Nobody's saying a bad word about him. He had a brilliant one.
Mm-hmm.
He really did. That's big match temperament. To have 2 or 3 bad years successively and then go to a World Cup and play that kind of rugby, you have to lift your head free.
Yeah.
You have to.
And it's interesting you mentioned that none of them were World Player of the Year, and Peter Steph du Toit got it.
Oh, yes, I just forgot about it. He had a brilliant, my bad. He had a brilliant tournament. Yeah, and also his leadership qualities. Don't forget about that. He fires up the other forwards. He keeps them going. You know? When it gets tough and when they get tired and the humility gets to them, he's the guy that leads and says, "Come on, let's go." He's the guy that keeps them going.
I know he's up. I mean, he was absolutely everywhere. Just like the way he tackles as well. He's just absolutely. That's possibly Peter Steph du Toit probably tackles as hard as anyone I've seen on the rugby field. Without question. And it's also, I just want to touch on him a little bit. It's interesting where he's come from, because I remember the first time I saw him play at flanker for the Springboks against England in 2016 at Twickenham. I just remember thinking he was playing number 7. I just remember thinking, this guy is so out of his depth. I mean, I don't even know what he's doing here. I mean, he was missing tackles left and right. He was all over the shop, just looked completely out of place. And look at how far he's come along now, and he's the best. I know it's different in South Africa. You have your 6 playing at 7 and your 7 playing at 6, but I think he's definitely the best blindside flanker. One of the best ones in the world right now, absolutely.
God, he grew a lot, as player. He grew a lot, really did.
Mm-hmm.
Also, again, it's down to coaching. If you've got the undoubted backing of the coach, and you know you're going to start every game, and you know you're going to get 65, 70, 75 minutes play every test match, that must show. And it did, it gives you confidence, and it gives you more confidence, and it snowballs in a positive sense. And that's what we saw here. Mm-hmm. Really, I think so.
Yeah, and I think we'll just get final words on Rassie Erasmus, how he's come in. You've talked about him before in this video, obviously, about the impact he's made and how well he's done for South African rugby. Going forward, as you said, he's not going to be the head coach anymore, from what we understand right now. Do you think that's a possibility? I mean, because I know he says stepping down, but I mean, because I just think there's still a sense that a lot can happen in the next 6 months or so. Do you think there's a possibility he could maybe stay on as head coach, or do you think that boat has sailed and he's definitely going to pass the torch on to somebody else?
Well, Carl, now that you mention it, when he was announced as a director of rugby,
Mhm.
his first press, well, when he accepted it and had a press conference with regards to all that, he said they now look at appointing a coach. But they don't know yet who the coach will be, but they go through the processes and have interviews, etc. And what. And 2 weeks later, he said he's appointing himself as coach. He's interim. He's an interim coach. He always said interim coach. Um, and then a little while later, he said he will not coach after this World Cup. So he's been saying that for at least a year now.
Mhm.
But the fact that he said that they're gonna, look at who could coach his team, and they're gonna go through the processes and what, and then he pretty much appointed himself. Nothing stops him from doing that again. And so, listen, let's do it on an interim basis. I'll see them through the Scotland series in July, and then we'll see what we do before we get to the Rugby Championship. That kind of scenario, it's not impossible. I don't think so, though. I think he's the kind of guy who quits while ahead, and he's far ahead now.
Mhm.
So it's a good time to get off. It's a good time to get off. A new 4-year cycle has started. What better time for the new coach to come in? We've seen that with Jake White coming in 2004. And he took his squad and ran with him for 4 years, won the World Cup. Um, we saw that now with Steve Hansen with the All Blacks. Did the same thing. 4-year cycle, clear 4-year cycle. Okay, they didn't win it, but they did well. The same thing, the same applies. So while I hear what you're saying, and you've actually made me think here now that it's possible that he could stay on just for a while still and oversee, whatever they want to call it, I don't think so. I think Jacques Nienaber will be the new coach. I think the assistant coaches will slightly change. It'll more or less stay the same. Your technical guys, your video guys, your forward, your backline coach like Mzwandile Stick, our backline coach, he's going nowhere. He'll stay.
Mhm.
That guy is a sharp mind.
Still
But
got
yes,
for our Irish friends who are listening, will Felix Jones be staying?
I do think so.
Aye.
I do think so. Word, they had an informal chat on Supersport while they were taking the cup to the country now. They had a chat with Matthew Proudfoot and Dwayne Vermeulen, I think, very LaRue, in studio with our sports broadcaster, Supersport.
Mhm.
And they said that, they sang his praises and said how well, how good a job he came to do, etc. And they went on a bit about him. And then I remember distinctly Dwayne Vermeulen said he hopes that Felix Jones stays on because they can do with him. They really can do with him. So, I think he will. I think he will. But didn't he work with Erasmus at
He
Munster?
did, yeah.
I stand to be corrected. Erasmus is the kind of guy who sticks with a guy. He studied at university with Jacques Nienaber. They're friends since 1992.
Mhm.
People don't
That's
know
interesting.
this.
No.
I went to university with him. That's why I know it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
that's why I know it. So they're friends since 1992. Okay? They've been carrying on this whole coaching thing since then. And they're still there. So you've got Jones from Munster. He's going to stay. You got Stick. He brought Stick in. Alistair Coetzee wanted to let Stick go. Mzwandile Stick, the backline coach. And Rassi said, no, this guy's going nowhere. He stays with me.
Mhm.
And look at the play that our backline dished up. That's Mzwandile Stick.
Aye.
So he'll stay.
Bit of a transition there because I remember Stick got a lot of flack during the Alistair Coetzee years. But you kind of, I can see obviously there was this friction there between the two of them and stuff that just didn't work out. But from where he was when he was first appointed South Africa backs coach to where he is now is absolutely chalk and cheese as well. So you got to credit both him and the way Erasmus has managed him as well. I think Erasmus has just been an absolute revelation for you guys
Yes.
coming in doing what he has. The way he's picked South Africa up, as we've touched on, from near enough the doldrums and just made them world champions. He's been absolutely fantastic, and I'd say he deserves to be knighted just for that. I'll be honest. I think it's a more impressive feat than Sir Clive Woodward's 2003 England, because with Sir Clive Woodward he had four whole years to pick them up from 1999 and get them ready for that 2003 World Cup. I know they went through a few hiccups along the way there, but still he had 4 years. Erasmus has turned South Africa around in 2, so fair play to
One
him
and a
there.
half, 18 months.
Oh well, that's even better then. So
18 months.
yeah.
That's impressive. That's impressive. So yes, no, look, he's a good coach. That's no mistake. He's a brilliant coach, and he's done the job now. And that actually, it's going to sound harsh, but quit while you're ahead. Take the spoils and go and let guy come in. The new cycle starts now, and I really think that's what will happen. But don't take the spotlight off Erasmus. He did brilliantly well. And the future is going to be bright, because this guy's now going to look. He said in an interview just months before the World Cup, he said that his role as director of rugby is neglected because he had to coach the team. He hasn't had the time to look at the under 21 setup, to look at the women's rugby, the sevens, your school setup, your South African schools team that plays annually. He hasn't had time to properly invest in those teams, have interviews, look at what they're doing, how they're doing it, advise each other. That's going to happen now. But now you're going to have a system where you've got your director of rugby actively interested and attending schools games, under 21 games, sevens, like when they play in Cape Town or Dubai or whatever. He'll fly out and go watch. And advise and speak to the coach and say, listen, let's do this, or I like what you're doing here, I want to see more of that, and that kind of thing. He hasn't been doing that. He's going to do that now. So, and that's in time, that pays out. It shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to see it. We're going to see it. It's very exciting, really.
Yeah, and also for like those outside of the South African main men's team, that's going to be, I think, inspiring as well. That especially for the kids, knowing that they've got a World Cup winning coach that's actually being in charge of their director of rugby and like how they develop as well. I mean, it might sound a little bit trivial, but it is a big thing when that they're just going to look up to him with so much respect and so much like desire to think like, I want to be good for this guy. I want to be playing for the Springboks in the future. So I think long term, you definitely have a lot to look forward to, without a doubt. And you could end up repeating your 12-year cycle in 2031, where you win the World Cup every 12 years.
We'll see what happens. But we'll see. But it's interesting. When you said now about the kids looking up for team, etc. Sorry, it's Glasgow's a Scottish team, but the impact that this guy has. The Kings played Glasgow and Port Elizabeth last season at some point, and the Boks had a training camp in Port Elizabeth, and Rassie attended the game with a couple of the Boks players, not the whole team, like 6 or 7 players that went with him. And they arrived before the game while the Kings were warming up, and Erasmus walked out and just greeted the Kings coach, shook his hand, and walked off again, just like that. Very unobtrusive kind of thing, but he just said, listen, here I am, good luck for the game, looking forward to watching the game. The coach told the team that the Springboks are here, some of them, and Rassie Erasmus is here. He's watching you. And the Kings beat Glasgow that day. A strong Glasgow team. I mean, Dave really doesn't fool around. And they beat them. So now, if you see what happened that day, now you take Rassie Erasmus, he goes to the SA schools game. They play against England schools in June 2020. Erasmus attends the odd training session. He doesn't say much, he stands there. The kids see him. they can operate at 200%. That's a fact. So, that's those kind of things that it'll show in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a good place we can leave it there. And I'll just say, going forward, I'm a mixed bag about Scotland being your first opponents as world champions next summer. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, like I said, we'll see when we're at the time. We could maybe do a video then of that game. I know it's a long way away, so we'll see where we're at then. But have you got anything else you want to add before I wrap things up, Reenan?
No, just thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the chat, Kyle, and appreciate it for pulling me in. It was enlightening. You made me think about quite a number of things. I'm going to struggle to sleep now because my head's working now. So, but thanks for having me. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, no, pleasure having you on. Absolutely. I'll wrap it up now. Thanks very much, Reenan. Thanks, guys, for watching this video. Much appreciated. Hope we've given you a bit of an insight, and great to hear from the World Champions' perspective as well. Gonna wrap this up now. Take care, guys, and catch you later on.